What's going on, guys? This is VinylicPuma, back with another Borderlands 2 countdown video, and today I wanted to go over 10 of what I think are among some of the best guns, weapons, and gear for Borderlands 2's Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. Now, before we start, and as some ground rules, this list is going to be more general in its recommendations so that no single character or class is overwhelmingly favored. So you won't be seeing any class mods on this list, but you will be seeing certain shield, relic, and weapon recommendations that are great on pretty much any character and any build. Also, I'm trying to strike a balance between utility, power, and ease of acquisition with these entries. So rather than just name off some of the best guns in the game, I figured it would be better to go over some of the best gear for leveling, as well as items that are just nice to have and easy to acquire for Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. With that in mind, there are plenty more than 10 items that could have made it onto this list. So if you could think of something that you would have liked to have seen on this particular list, feel free to leave it in the comments section below. Otherwise, guys, let's go ahead and start with number 10, and that is going to be the Slag SMG. While the Slag isn't as useful in either normal or true Vault Hunter mode, it's actually far more useful in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode where it can scale with the player's level. Add in the fact that all you have to do to acquire this thing is literally run to a specific part of the map in Frostburn Canyon, and this is a pretty great weapon that can reliably carry you throughout the difficulty. As for the gun itself, the Slag never comes in an element, it always has a ×2 projectile multiplier, and the gun has a fairly high rate of fire, which allows you to fire a lot of bullets at would-be enemies. This of course comes at the cost of low accuracy, which really reduces the Lascow's range and makes it suited for dealing damage at preferably close range. Now, medium range is viable, though it is worth mentioning that you do risk some of the Lascow's projectiles missing at that range. In general, I think you'll find that the Lascow is pretty decent on everybody. Gage can pair it with Close Enough and Anarchy. Maya can boost its power with the Cat class mod. Axton can pair it with Metal Storm to give you really high fire rates, and it's even fairly fun to gun Zerk on Salvador with a Lascow. So I would say it's pretty hard to go wrong with this thing, especially when you consider that it's so easy to get and scales with your level in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. With that in mind, if you want a Lascow, be sure to go to Frostburn Canyon, and I will go ahead and I'll put a map location as well as where the item specifically is in the video footage that you're watching right now. Number 9. Bone of the Ancients Relics. In my humble opinion, the Bone of the Ancients Relic is potentially the best relic in the game, and if you're going to be playing in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, I would highly recommend you get your hands on one of these in all available elements. After all, and like the standard elemental relic, the Bone of the Ancients relic provides elemental damage bonus, which tends to be superior to most other types of gun-related damage bonuses due to how elemental damage bonus tends to be multiplicative. However, compared to the standard elemental relic, the Bone of the Ancients relic provides some action skill cooldown, which makes it totally superior in most cases. So, if you can, it's highly recommended that you get your hands on a fire, corrosive, and shock variant of the Bone of the Ancients for Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. The only real issue with this relic that I can think of is that it doesn't replace the explosive or slag elemental relics. While the latter isn't as much of an issue, as slag is usually just used to debuff enemies in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, the lack of an explosive Bone of the Ancients is disappointing, and I'm surprised that Gearbox never coded one into the game. Thankfully, there is a community patch mod for Borderlands 2 that adds both an explosive and slag variant into the game, and I will include a link to that mod in the video's description. Overall though, Bone of the Ancients relics are phenomenal and highly recommended for all characters and all character builds. So make sure that your Doctor's Order side quest mission is active, and then farm the legendary loot midgets in the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve to get this relic in all available elements. Number 8. The Slag SMG. Despite its rarity and how difficult it can be to acquire compared to many of the other items on this list, the Slag is a pretty great weapon to have for Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. Obviously, this comes down to the fact that Slag is so essential for the difficulty, and given the fact that the Slag is pretty much the best gun in the game for slagging, it shouldn't really be too much of a surprise that the Slag would appear on this list. What's also great about the Slag is that it's a lot less level dependent than many of the other items on this list, and this is because the Slag is primarily designed to slag enemies rather than deal direct damage. So assuming that you took the time to farm a Slag, or if you just received one at a lower level, you may find that you get some decent use out of it in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, as it's a really great way to slag enemies. The issue with the Slag, though, is acquiring it, as you'll normally have to side with the Zaffords during the final Clan Wars side quest, Zaffords vs. Hodunks. This will allow you to fight Jimbo and Tector Hodunk, which is the mini-boss that has the greatest chance of dropping the Slag. With this in mind, you may find that you're better off waiting until at least level 72 to farm for the Slag, rather than trying to do so at level 50 in preparation for UVHM. Overall, though, the Slag is a very great SMG for Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, and if you can get your hands on one, you'll definitely be pretty happy with it. Number 7. The Bee Shield. So, the Bee Shield is probably the reason Borderlands 2's Ultimate Vault Hunter mode is so hard. After all, the game and the difficulty had to be balanced around the bee, and given the fact that the Bee Shield provides such a large damage boost to pretty much any weapon, that's probably a pretty big reason why we see quadruple health and instant health regen among most of the enemies in the difficulty. Now, the inclusion of the Bee Shield on this list isn't to say that you can't get by without a Bee Shield, and in fact, the Bee Shield can be detrimental in some situations, but the sheer damage boost you're getting from the shield definitely makes it worth acquiring, especially on characters that don't necessarily have the ability to achieve really high damage boosts in its absence. There's also the fact that pretty much any unique, legendary, seraph, or pearlescent rarity weapon that has unlisted projectiles can benefit from the Bee Shield as well, making the Bee incredibly useful and powerful with some of these weapons. Hence, that's a big reason why I'm including it here. All in all, though, the Bee Shield is highly recommended by me, and while I'd recommend that you not rely on it, there's no denying that it can make UVHM much easier. If you want one, you can either farm Hunter Hellquist at the Arid Nexus Boneyard during or after the This Just In side quest, or you can farm the big treants throughout the forest location in the Dragon Keep DLC. Number 6. The Jolly Roger Shotgun. So, the Jolly Roger is somewhat overlooked in favor of other crazy, overpowered, and easy to acquire weapons in the Captain Scarlet DLC, but I would say if you're going to go after some of those weapons anyway and farm them, you might as well go ahead and pick up a Jolly Roger as well. What the Jolly Roger has going for it is that it has a very high projectile multiplier with better ammo consumption than most non-unique quad-barrel shotguns. So essentially, you're getting similar damage output to a quad, Ravager, or projectile diversification shotgun, while remaining more ammo efficient overall. Also, you have the advantages of a fixed projectile pattern, which, as you might guess, is in the shape of a Jolly Roger or skull and crossbones. This makes hip firing a little bit easier and more consistent, as you have a pretty good idea where the projectiles are going to go. Add on the fact that the Jolly Roger can come in pretty much every element but explosive, and you've got yourself a really powerful and versatile shotgun. If you want the Jolly Roger, you can acquire it as a quest reward for completing the Just Dessert for Desert Deserters side quest mission in the Captain Scarlet DLC. The quest itself is somewhat involved and does take place across multiple different locations, but I think you'll find that the effort required to get this gun makes it all worth it. Plus, you can get this thing, and then you can get some of the other Scarlet DLC quest reward weapons that I'm going to be talking about shortly. Number 5. The Magic Missile Grenade Mod. In my humble opinion, the Magic Missile is the best grenade mod for Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. Not only is Slag incredibly important for Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, as it makes debuffing and taking down enemies way easier, but the homing nature of the Magic Missile's grenade projectiles make it really easy to ensure that you actually hit what you're throwing the Magic Missile at. The fire and forget nature of the Magic Missile should allow you to spam this grenade, slagging every enemy in your path, which immediately makes them much easier to take down thanks to all of that slag. The other major positive of the Magic Missile is that it also allows you to regenerate grenade ammo, which is crucial and incredibly useful on every character. Even in the case of someone like Axton, who has the ability to carry well over 20 grenades, having the ability to regenerate grenades can actually make it so you don't have to heavily spec for Grenadier, which can free up those points to be placed elsewhere. Or if you are using something like a fastball that doesn't regenerate ammo, you can equip a magic missile between fights to regenerate your grenades. With all of this said though, not all magic missiles are created equal, and if you can, I highly recommend you try to get the purple ×4 variant that drops from badass wizards. While the 2x blue variant works okay, I think you'll find that the ×4 variant is far more effective and easier to use for slagging, and you're better off farming badass wizards to get it rather than sticking with a ×2 variant. In the end, the magic missile is a phenomenal grenade mod for Ultimate Vault mode, and you should really take the time to acquire one as it's a great way to slag enemies without swapping weapons. Number 4. The Grog Nozzle. While there are some within the Borderlands community that don't like the Grog Nozzle, there's no denying that it isn't one of the most useful and possibly even essential pieces of equipment that you can get your hands on for Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. Not only is it a moxie weapon which allows you to heal off of the damage it deals, but it also possesses a number of other passive weapon effects that are highly desirable too. Specifically, and when it comes to healing, the Grog heals for an astonishing 65% of damage dealt, which dwarfs its closest competitor, which is the Ruby that heals at about 12%. It's also worth pointing out that despite the Grog's low base damage, it has passive crit bonus that can be used and transferred to other weapons, which is especially useful on Salvador to increase the crit damage of any other weapon while dual wielding. There's also the Grog Nozzle's passive drunk effect, which temporarily decreases accuracy and rate of fire, while allowing the player to shoot an additional 5 projectiles at no additional ammo cost. In practice, you can get drunk and then swap to any other weapon to temporarily feel the effects of this. Or in the case of Salvador, you can dual wield and have this drunk effect occur randomly to greatly improve your DPS for a short period of time. The only problem with the Grog Nozzle is that it's no longer and was never really farmable. Granted, you can always trade with somebody that has a $100,000 loot hunt version that they farmed from the Gold Golem 5 years ago, but most of those people are probably not interested in trading their version to you. So if you do want a legit Grog Nozzle, you're really better off starting and never completing the Beard Makes the Man side quest in the Mines of Avarice in the Dragonkeep DLC. Otherwise, if you do want a permanent version, you're gonna have to use a save editor. Number 3. The Pimpernel Sniper Rifle. While there is a slight learning curve to using it, the Pimpernel is arguably Borderlands 2's best single-shot sniper, and is also pretty great due to how easy it is to acquire. After all you have to do is complete the I Know It When I See It side quest in Washburn Refinery, and then you could start the Don't Copy That Floppy side quest, and once you complete that side quest, you should receive a Pimpernel as a quest reward. Now, if you're curious, the Pimpernel can be acquired after the Jolly Roger and before a certain special SMG that we're going to talk about in just a moment. As for the sniper itself, what makes the Pimpernel special are the 5 projectiles that emit when the Pimpernel's initial projectile hits a surface. Not only are these projectiles unlisted, meaning they go great with the B-shield, but with clever aiming at either an enemy's crotch or at their knee, you can actually get these secondary projectiles to hit, yielding far more damage than what's listed on the Pimpernel's item card. As you can imagine, this allows the Pimpernel to get really powerful and makes it a perfect sniper rifle for pretty much all of the characters. Also, if you get a Slag variant, you can use the Pimpernel as a powerful offensive as well as effective Slag tool due to the Pimpernel's very high Slag chance as well as its splash damage potential. Plus, the listed Slag chance can carry over to each secondary projectile, which makes slagging enemies pretty easy. If you ask me, this is a sniper you're definitely going to want to get in every element once you reach max level for every character. But I also think you'll find that it's pretty great to use as you're leveling up in UVHM as well. Number 2. The Sandhawk SMG. So it's no secret that the Sandhawk is one of, if not the best SMGs in Borderlands 2. It's easily recognizable in that it fires projectiles that look like a bird flapping its wings, and underneath that projectile pattern is some pretty impressive damage output. After all, you're basically firing 8 projectiles for the cost of 3, and provided you're aiming down the sight, you're doing this in burst fire, which allows for pretty good DPS. However, the reason the Sandhawk is so sought after and revered is due to its compatibility with the B-shield. Because most of the projectiles that the Sandhawk fire are unlisted, Each unlisted projectile gets full amp damage, which makes what was already a fairly powerful SMG to begin with that much more powerful. And what's great about the B-Shield plus Sandhawk combo is that it's great on virtually every character and can be used to make short work of pretty much almost any enemy in the game. Plus, and depending on the raid boss, you can get away with using this combo to take some of them down as well. My only complaint with the Sandhawk is that if you were to farm its corresponding quest every so often as you level up to level 72, it could potentially take you a really long time as you have to complete somewhere between 70 to 90% of the DLC in order to get a Sandhawk. While you could argue this isn't as bad if you're farming some of the other quest reward weapons that I mentioned earlier on in this video, you may still find that it gets pretty tedious. Overall though, the Sandhawk is a great weapon, and if you pair it with the B-Shield, you should be able to take down most enemies with minimal effort, which can make progression in Ultimate Voltage mode a lot less difficult. And finally, number 1, the Unkempt Herald Pistol. So the Unkempt Herald, or its double penetrating variant, also known as the Deepa, are among some of the best pistols in Borderlands 2. Despite being a legendary that's normally supposed to drop from Savage Lee in Three Horns Divide, the Unkempt Herald can be easily acquired in the Torgue DLC by visiting one of the Torgue vending machines and purchasing one for about 600 Torgue tokens or so. Thus, this makes the Unkempt Herald one of the easier to obtain legendaries, and given the weapon's power, it might be wise to get your hands on one of these every so often. The major thing the Unkempt Herald has going for it is that it fires 7 shots horizontally. Not only does this make the Unkempt Herald remarkably consistent in terms of how its projectiles can hit enemies, but it also helps that the rate at which the projectiles split is fairly gradual, allowing you to be more effective at greater ranges than you would be with other horizontal projectile pattern weapons. What's also cool about the Herald is that the double penetrating variant basically just doubles the 7 projectiles to 14, which, as you might expect, is incredibly powerful and should allow you to make short work of most enemies that you would come across, and is even a great weapon to take on some raid bosses with. Ultimately, the Unkempt Herald is a phenomenal gun and is fairly easy to get, and if you plan on doing the bar brawl in the Torgue DLC to help level up, you should have fairly easy access to plenty of Torgue tokens to buy an Unkempt Herald every once in a while. So be sure to pick an Unkempt Herald up in Ultimate Voltage mode, as it's definitely one of the better weapons available. Alright guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. If you liked this video, feel free to leave a like, click the bell so you can be notified when I upload more videos, and as always, thank you all so much for supporting this channel. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.